Hello everybody, so this has been a while. My laptop broke down so I couldn't really record any videos, but we are again, back to it. So I have quite a backlog of videos to make, which is quite exciting. This one has been 2 months ago, I think, so I am losing some kind of memories for this, but we'll get through this together. What did I bring? I brought Stormcast Eternals, as most of my games, to be honest. So you can see my Proud Lord terminals with reclusions. My opponent is bringing Crypt Horrors and other kinds of Flesheater cords. So yeah, let's see how that turns out. We are playing the Jaws of Gallet, and let's go through the lists. So my opponent is bringing some Crypt Ghouls. What else is he bringing? Some more Crypt Ghouls, some Crypt Horrors reinforced. He has the Marrow Scroll Herald and a Arch Regent somewhere in the back. He has a Gore Warden, I believe. If that's the flying guy that does some shooting damage and can teleport units around. He has Morback Knights reinforced, Crypt Horrors reinforced, Usharan, another unit of Ghouls or Crypt Guards or Beast Flayers, I don't know. But some of these. Yeah, so that is his list. He is playing Lords of the Manor because, well, that is what you play as Flesheater cords. And then my list, I am playing Sentinels of the Bleak Coast, Bleak Citadels. I have I have to remember how this worked. In my General's Regiment, I have my Lord Terminals with the Reclusions. Then, otherwise in the General's Regiment, I don't think I have anything. Maybe I put in the guy Guard Steel Soul. I think he's in my General's Regiment as well. Then we have a Lord Relictor who brought some Prosecutors. Then we have a Knight Relictor. I think he brought my double units of Quest of Soulsworn, so I have one unit here, one unit off the table. I have a Knight Arcanum and I have some Gryph-hounds, and I think that is it. So, what do I think going into this matchup? So it's an interesting matchup for sure. I mean, Flesheater cords got buffed quite a bit and it has quite a lot of recursion, so I'm quite curious to see what will happen here. Mobility wise, I think I have the edge because my opponent only has the teleport with the Morback Knights, but I can make some choke points on the board otherwise. Especially with Reclusions, where I get to fight first. And my opponent doesn't really have that much armor penetration, so I am very curious how this will pan out. My opponent decided to let me go first, and seeing the table I thought, well, I'll just seize the center. Sometimes it's a bit of a risky first turn tactic if you know that your opponent has manifestations that they can summon within distance to push you out of deep strike territory, basically. So like if they put a manifestation here, I cannot enter within 9 inches, so I have to walk up and get something in another way. But in this case that did not apply, so I was quite happy to seize the center. I cast a Gnashing Jaws, I moved away my wizard, and I basically just put down the Reclusions with the terminals for my battle tactic. Otherwise, what do we do? So I have the Knight Relictor here to screen out the teleport of my opponent. I think maybe this was a bit too cautious. However, I was just trying to zone out everything, everywhere. The Lord Relictor in the woods ready to next turn potentially buff the Prosecutors if they want to get a blast weapons off. Otherwise, we have a Gryph-hounds just to take the flanks one turn later maybe. But I think in the terms of board control I'm quite okay where I am. So these black things, they are actually obstacles that we cannot cross over, so they do block off the table a little bit, making it so that we have just very well designed charge lanes. Like my opponent's Usharan has to go in between this, or he has to go around, or he has to go all the way around, so he will likely just go through the middle and meet up with my Reclusions. So that's a win for me, I think. So what my opponent then did is to go for take the flanks. He got the next turn, take the flanks if I'm right. So the flanks in this scenario, in Jaws of Galat, this is his flank objective as well, and then he had some kind of unit here standing on the edge, I believe. So I think that, yeah, that is the unit that you see in the previous picture. So that was hidden all the way in the flank. So it's an easy battle tactic for him as well. Otherwise he just moved up a bit, didn't really do too much, and he did cause this palisade wall next to my reclusions. I thought this was quite funny because I can still just go through. I don't think I was in combat at the start, so don't know how useful that was, but I was quite happy to just leave the wall there because the reclusions, they don't want to go anywhere anyway. So that was quite alright by me. So yeah, otherwise what there's not that much that is actually bothering me. My opponents, the Morvac Knights, are moving up. I think if he would get a double here, I would be a bit less happy. But I still have my Quicksilver Draft being able to pop off. So that's quite alright. And my reclusions, yeah, they don't really care about these crypto horrors too much, I think. So let's see what's gonna happen with that. So my prosecutors obviously are a little bit in a tight spot now that the Morvac Knights are threatening them if my opponent were to get the double. But then again, that would anyway be the case wherever I put my units. So this is a little bit later into the game. So I think this is my turn, start of my turn. We did have some combat here. I think he charged my jaws, and then I think I counter-charged with the reclusions. Hola, too far. So I did counter-charge with the reclusions because he charged my jaws. And then I could get some damage in. I still had the command points. So I thought, well, I might as well. And then if my opponent would get the double, there will be some fixes to that as well. So my opponent, I have to check this. He did not get a double, I think. No, he did not get the double. So my opponent did score 8 points here because of less objective control than me. I continued with take the flanks. So I do have my Lord Relictor and my Gryphounds ready to just take the flanks at this point. I did not want to risk Do Not Waver, just mostly because prosecutors die all the time. Yeah. I think I forgot to mention that I also still had a reinforced unit of Liberators. So that one came in now. So yeah, what am I doing? So my thought here, which was maybe a bit wrong, is okay, sure, the Cryptors are over here, I can deal with those. And then I can use the Quest Assault Sworn to block out the advance of my opponent. Basically, I'm sacrificing this unit to have my opponent's Usharan crash into something, and then I can counter crash with the Liberators and the Reclusions in order to mop everything up. Meanwhile, this turn is not the go turn for most of this stuff, so I can make it the go turn for my prosecutors. I can buff them up with blast weapons, I can buff them up with finest hours, so they went in with both onto the Morvac Knights, and then they absolutely fluffed, because that is what prosecutors do if I am playing them. For me, this is just a universal truth that prosecutors deal so much damage that they kill 1 or 2 models, and then they lose 1 or 2 models, 2 models generally themselves, so they really can't push their way, or they can't really smash their way through a pack of butter, some people would say. A bit of a close-up shot as we saw before, and this is way later in the game. So what did happen? So the prosecutors are here now. There's quite a lot of stuff that happened in between. So just let's continue here. So I did take the flanks. That worked great. I managed to take the flanks. My opponent, he did attack on 2 fronts, and he tried to flip 2 objectives. So currently the objectives that I'm holding are these 4 objectives. My opponent did not manage to do attack on 2 fronts, so he did not manage to flip 2 of them. I think he did not flip the center one, because I could pile in back with the reclusions in such a way that I would have terminals on there with control 2, and the reclusions on there with control 1, or well, at least the amount of guys that they have, and then +3 for terminals, +3 for the reclusions, because of the memoriam of terminals, which is something as an opponent you should not forget about. So they do in the end have quite a substantial amount of control actually. So I think I didn't lose this one. I think I might just have killed enough of these guys to keep that objective. Let's see if I... Because Griffhounds in the end they do pack a bit of a punch. I think my opponent only flipped one objective and then he burned that one. But anyway, we then afterwards we continued. I took Slay the Entourage to try and kill I think the Crypt Horrors. Not the Morag, I think maybe the Morag Knights. I think I killed the Morag Knights in the end, and this was a replacement unit that came back later. So I think I killed the Morag Knights once they came around. And then basically in the end my opponent still did Do Not Waver. I still did take the land here on the forest in the back with Gardas Steel Soul. I must say Gardas was a bit disappointing in the sense that he deployed, he gave 6 attacks to the second unit of Quest of Soulsworn, and that was his entire role in the game. So probably it's worth it if you bring the Annihilators with the Grand Hammers for 6 extra attacks on those. Then again, that's just like 2 Grand Hammer dudes, 6 attacks. It's you might as well just buy an extra unit of Grand Hammers, I think. Even though it's an extra activation, I know, but it's also extra wounds and stuff, and I just don't think the guy's worth it. Because it's a lot of loops to go through to get a get something meaningful going off. So I don't really think he's worth it after this, especially because 170 points is also a lot. So the Gravehounds, they actually managed to mop up quite some ghouls. My opponent does still have some lying around. I think these are the Beast Flayer guys that came back a bit. But in terms of overall zoning, objective control, I'm doing quite alright. So my opponent did not seem to have the mobility to be able to push into my backfield, which I greatly appreciated. And then, yeah, in the middle we just fought it out. So the Reclusions, they indeed held up their grind against the Ghasts, which was good. I was very tempted still to try and go after the Mariscroll Herald and the Archregent, but my opponent really zoned out very well the backfield, so I couldn't really deep strike anywhere close with a meaningful unit. So I ended up fighting Ushran in the middle, and I think at some point I had him at 1 hit point. Yes, here we are. Here we are. So Ushran is at 1 hit point remaining. My Terminus is going to fight on my turn. My Reclusions are after, and they do not manage to do a single wound to the guy. Yeah, that was rough. Then my opponent strikes back. He kills, I believe, Terminals, and he starts healing up. And then basically in the last rounds, my opponent did recover from a bit of a dire situation. We had some very meaningful rolls with a low amount of models. Basically, we were getting worn down, the both of us, really badly. And my opponent actually did not have the recursion, or the effective recursion, I should say, that I expected. Like, he could do stuff like return 3 Crypt Horrors all the way on the edge of the field. That was not even that useful, and it didn't really provide him with any battle tactics, I found. So in the end, I scored all my battle tactics for Seize the Center, Take the Flanks, Slay the Entourage, Take the Land, and Reclaim the Realms. Reclaim the Realms is just great as a tactic at the end, if you still have 4 units at least left. My opponent went for Take the Flanks, attack on 2 fronts. He failed attack on 2 fronts, but then he managed Do Not Waver, Take the Land, and Seize the Center. So the center at the end, I don't have a picture of it. But well, he basically mopped up this, and then seized the centers too. So in the end he managed to not score one tactic, I managed to score all my tactics. However, in terms of objective control, I did not have any objectives anymore at the end of the game, making it a 42-42 in score, which led it to be a draw. So had I done one wound at this point to Ushran, it would not have been a draw, but there you are. This was our game. So some learning points maybe. Let's have a look. So Siege Center turn 1 was great, but it's a battle plan you can or a battle tactic you can only do if you're convinced that your opponent cannot countercast anything. So that is the case in this scenario. Maybe my opponent could have made a moving manifestation. I don't really know what's in Flesheater chords, and if he could have, but he then definitely should have. So I think maybe that was a mistake on my part of going for Siege to Center turn 1. Alternatively, yeah, take the flanks. The flanks were very far away in this battle plan, so that is a bit of a challenge. Reclaim the realms would always be an option though. I think my opponent left some space in the corner, so I could have reclaimed the realms. So the plan of just putting the reclusions in the middle going forward, I think, was a solid plan. I think also this move was quite alright, but I could have moved up the Soul Swarm closer to my opponent. So in this case, tactic wise, I should check what I chose. I think I took take the flank. Is this to take the flanks turn? Yes, with the Lord Electro there. So take the flanks. So I don't have Do Not Waver. I think these guys to quest the Soul Swarm in the middle. So they moved from here to there, which is I might have moved them normally. Might have. This is like 3 inches, right? 3 inch. I think I could have ran them. Did I run them? I don't think I ran them. I think I could have spent a CP to run them further up, to block up the movement of Ushran, so you could only target together with the Crypt Horrors one unit instead of these both units. Because what that happened basically is, what I remember is that he went in with the Crypt Horrors and he put them over here more or less, and Ushran went here. So Ushran could choose which unit he would strike. So maybe I should have put the Liberators even a bit further away and really push them up as a screen. Also screen them out, but that's a bit difficult. I don't have the mobility there, so I am looking to include a unit of cavalry instead of this much infantry, and just the type of cavalry that I can use to block some part of the board, and then zone out my opponent from some spaces on the board. And otherwise the Gryph-hounds in this matchup performed quite well. The magic was not very present, I think. Like I cast the Gnashing Jaws at the start and that was it. Neither Canaan died at some point. So. Yeah, I think it's quite a winnable matchup, I would say, for Stormcast. I think I should just focus on keeping Ushran out of meaningful combats, so we can see some combat, but he's a bit of a scary piece. I can try to annihilate him in one go. I do have the damage in my list to do so. But yeah, some takeaways. I don't need 2 priests. 2 priests feels too much, and it's more about the placement of a single priest that is more important than having 2 of them on the board, and you mostly use them for translocate in your opponent's turn to deny battle tactics. And otherwise, yeah, Gardas, Steel Soul is just not worth it. Not in this list, at least. Yeah, I think that is my takeaways for this game. I did go to, what's the name of the tournament? The Gauntlet in the Netherlands with this list. So there will be some battle reports following from that. But for now, I'll wish you all the best and see you next time.